the dog that fought back. The morning was too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your skin prickle. I stood at my kitchen window, coffee cooling in my hand, watching my daughter Emily, 10 years old and all heart, slip out the front door with her terrier, Buddy. She tied a faded blue ribbon around his neck, her daily ritual, and they wandered toward the edge of our yard in suburban Oak Ridge, Virginia. Emily hummed softly, Buddy's tail wagged like a metronome, and for a moment, everything felt right. But something was off. The birds weren't singing. The air felt heavy, like it was waiting for a storm. 6 minutes later, that storm arrived in a gleaming black SUV, and with it came a woman who'd tear our world apart. Her name was Margaret Hensley, president of the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association, a tyrant in pearls who ruled our cul-de-sac with a clipboard and a sneer. She'd fined old Mr. Carter for his therapy dogs barking, ripped down kids' Halloween decorations, and once measured my lawn with a ruler to cite me for unruly grass. Emily feared her, whispering her name like a ghost story. But Buddy? He didn't know fear. He trotted ahead, sniffing daisies, oblivious to the danger rolling up our street. The SUV stopped with a gravel crunch. Margaret stepped out, her navy blazer crisp, her heels clicking like a judge's gavel. Beside her was Vince, her hired muscle, a hulking ex-bouncer with a shaved head and a rubber bullet gun slung low. Margaret didn't look at Emily or Buddy. She stared at my azaleas, 3 feet past the HOA's boundary sign, and said, "That dog's off-leash." 4th violation. Her voice was ice, her eyes hidden behind sunglasses. Emily clutched Buddy's fur. "He's not hurting anything. He's just smelling flowers." Margaret smirked, a slow, cruel twist of her lips. "Rules don't bend for puppy eyes, sweetheart." She nodded to Vince. He raised his gun. My coffee mug hit the floor. The shot cracked like a whip, slamming into Buddy's side. He yelped, flew back, and crumpled against the fence, his small body twitching. Emily screamed, a sound that cut through my soul. Margaret laughed a sharp, delighted bark and stepped forward. With one deliberate motion, she ground her heel into Buddy's paw. Next time, by a leash. I didn't think. I didn't feel. I moved. The front door slammed behind me as I marched across the yard, past Emily's sobs, past Buddy's blood on the grass. Margaret turned, her smirk fading. "Oh, the farmer," she said, mocking my old John Deere parked in the garage. "You'll get the fine by Monday." I didn't answer. I climbed into the tractor, turned the key, and gunned the engine. It roared like a beast unchained. Vince shouted, "You're on HOA property." Too late. I drove the tractor straight at their SUV. The steel bucket smashed through the hood, glass exploding, metal folding like tinfoil under 6 tons of fury. I didn't stop until the vehicle was a flattened wreck. Margaret screamed, her clipboard shaking. Vince lunged, raising his gun. I swung a towing chain from the tractor, cracking his wrist. The gun clattered to the pavement. I kicked it into a storm drain, then slammed my fist into his jaw. He dropped like a stone. Margaret stumbled back, her heels catching on a sprinkler. "You're insane," she choked. I stepped closer, my voice low. "You shot my daughter's dog. You stomped on him." She tried to snap back. I was enforcing standards, but her voice cracked. I grabbed her clipboard, snapped it over my knee, and threw the pieces at her feet. "You think I'm done?" I said. "Lady, I'm just warming up." She ran, barefoot now, one heel lost, scrambling through the HOA's prized rose garden. I caught her in 3 strides, grabbed her blazer, and dragged her to the community signpost stand ornate pillar reading, "Welcome to Oak Ridge." I slammed her shoulder against it, not to kill, just to make her feel the weight of her cruelty. "Feel it now," I growled. "What is it like to be powerless?" Her mascara ran, her lips bled, but I didn't care. Behind me, neighbors filmed, their phones capturing every second. Nobody stopped me. They'd had enough of her, too. But I wasn't done. At the edge of my property stood a gate, and behind it, my old partner's 3 retired K9 German Shepherds, Titan, Scout, and Rex. I pressed a button, and the gate slid open. They stepped out, eyes locked on Margaret, their growls low and synchronized. She froze, then bolted, limping down the sidewalk. The dogs didn't run. They stalked, circling her like wolves. She screamed, tripped, and fell into a puddle, sobbing as Scout barked inches from her face. I leaned into the HOA's old PA system and spoke. "Attention, Oak Ridge. Margaret Hensley shot a child's dog, stomped its paw, and laughed while a 10-year-old cried. Enjoy the show. The neighborhood watched. Porch filled, windows opened, phones recorded. Margaret crawled, mud-soaked, her blazer ruined. Titan marked her with a stream of urine, and the crowd gasped. I called the dogs back with a whistle. They returned, disciplined as ever. I knelt by Margaret, her face a mess of dirt and shame, and whispered, "This was mercy." By noon, the first video hit the internet. HOA tyrant hunted after shooting girl's dog. It spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views. Justice for Buddy trended nationwide. That evening, Margaret tried to salvage her power at an HOA meeting, her face bruised, her smile brittle. "Let's not let one incident ruin our community's order," she said. I stood. "You shot my daughter's dog," and laughed while she cried. Emily, pale but fierce, stepped forward, holding Buddy, still alive, his ribs taped. "You called him worthless," she said. "You said he deserved it." The room froze. A man raised his hand. Motion to remove Margaret Hensley as president. Every hand went up. Margaret gasped, but no one listened. Her reign was over. 3 days later, the sheriff arrived with a warrant. Margaret was cuffed, charged with animal cruelty, arming an unlicensed guard, and tampering with security footage that showed her laughing after the shot. Her name was blacklisted, barring her from any civic role in Virginia. Her mugshot, tear-streaked and broken, became a symbol of fallen power. Buddy survived, limping but breathing. Emily never left his side, tying that faded blue ribbon around his neck each day. Neighbors brought casseroles, flowers, and a wooden tag for Buddy. HOA survivor, certified good boy. The HOA office was gutted, its rules scrapped. Freedom returned to Oak Ridge. But I couldn't let Margaret's shadow linger. I towed the wrecked SUV from Impound and spent days welding it into a statue of Buddy, 3 feet tall, a blue ribbon etched around his neck. I carved into the base, "Buddy, he didn't die, so we could live freer." I placed it on the HOA's old porch, where Margaret once issued fines. Residents came with tears, flowers, and their dogs. Emily touched the statue's neck and whispered, "He'll never run again." I knelt, "But he'll never bow again." The city named it the Buddy Memorial. Emily and Buddy stood with a councilman to push a bill banning private HOA weapons. The statue became a pilgrimage site, a reminder that courage outlives fear. Margaret never returned. Oak Ridge healed, quieter now, with no fines, no clipboards, just the sound of Buddy breathing. I still wake early, mow my lawn, and watch Emily read to Buddy on the porch. He's weaker, but his tail flicks when she laughs. He stayed not because he fought, but because he was loved. And love is tougher than any tyrant's rules. What would you have done? Would you have written a letter or swung a chain? Was I right to unleash hell, or did I go too far? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you stand on violence, justice, and protecting what matters. Let's talk about the line between right and wrong, because in a world full of Margarets, we all have to choose a side.